graduated from Tokyo University with a degree in system engineering. That seemed like a pretty broad area of endeavor to me. I might have been more interested in something a little bit more specific, but like small robot joint design. But I asked no questions. Have job when go back, he said haltingly. This last chance travel. I hope the part about last chance traveler wasn't totally true, but he did not seem unhappy about it. I gathered that his parents, who were well off, had sent him on a little vacation to round out his education and make a worldly man of him. I had heard this referred to as a rite of passage by a young female traveler from Australia who was on one pub crawl after another in San Francisco. I think my new roommate was on the Japanese equivalent. I've had some reservations about the concept, however. A bar in Barstow in Barcelona looks the same as a bar in Barstow, and flat on your back, an iPad in Istanbul looks the same as an iPad in Trinidad. But Kiyoshi was a nice, polite young guy, and I gathered he was not planning to throw things all over the room as an expression of individuality. I did notice two things, however. He did not know how to make his bed. He simply spread out the sheets in the middle of the upper bunk as though he were making a nest in a tree and stirred them. And he had his iPad out before he bothered to unpack. After about an hour or so of playing games in his bunk nest, I asked him what his itinerary was in Paris. Itinerary? He asked. I don't think he knew the word. What are you planning to see? Where are you going? I asked. Ah, he said, no plan right now. I was kind of hoping he might go someplace so I could get some writing done in the quiet space. I'm selfish that way, but I had a bar or two I could work at. This was my old neighborhood in better times, so it wouldn't be a big problem. I was just making my own plans. After several hours of games played flat on his back in the nest, he asked me about the Louvre. Louvre, I said. Very nice. Every young man of the world who visits Paris should see Le Louvre. I gave it a very French pronunciation with a raspy R in the rear of my throat, and he looked dubious. Nevertheless, the next day, after only an hour or so of playing games on his iPad, he bundled up and headed off to that magnificent museum of art on the right bank of the Seine River at Place Royale. Ah, at last I had the room free. I could write without having to buy a drink and without the distraction of a soccer game on a TV at the end of the bar. We got about halfway into a story, maybe 3 hours had gone by, when Kiyoshi returned looking very exhausted. Vous avez l'air très fatigué, I said. Huh? He said. You look winded, I said. Wind? Dead? Tired, I said. Tired? Ah, yes, walk. Louvre, very far. I gather he had trouble buying a ticket for the metro. This I could understand. Often there are no ticket booths open in the metro stations in Paris, and none of the machines work. At best, you are forced into buying a ticket from someone who looks like a pickpocket. It may well be when not selling tickets. And asked him how he liked the Louvre. Didn't go in, he said. Don't like art. Ah, yes. Well, I guess the idea was that back home he could say he had been there. If anyone asked what he saw, he could lie. So many beautiful pictures. Thank very much. The next day he visited the Eiffel Tower in a similar fashion. He walked down, waited in line, or waited for the lights to come on, wait 9 minutes, then walked back. I didn't have to ask him if he went up. That was his Paris experience. He left the next day after about 48 hours playing games on his iPad. I wondered what he would have done without the iPad. Would he have been able to cope with the city? Would he have been overwhelmed by boredom and emptiness? L'ennui et la vide. I have heard of young people, certain bold individuals, leaving their devices at home these days and having breakdowns on vacation. Would he have lost it? Would he have lost it? Would he have flipped out and murdered someone? He perhaps, or a whole family, a school? Would his parents have had to come and collect the mental remains of their dear boy, their son? Oh, shameful day, rite of passage gone astray. Back in Tokyo, wheeled from his hospital room to visitors with flowers and get well cards. Uber, very nice. Boo, 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 boo.
Okay, next is Owen Dunkel.
Yeah.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Sonnet at Starbucks. Hail to the muses of Endor. The night is dark, dark as a black crow. The lights blink brightly, bright as a street lamps that meet the night of psalms and parades. I wonder at the cold splendor of it. Cold as my shallow mind, my mind cold and shallow as a drainage ditch. The night struts forwards, not backwards to oblivion. The obvious is a clear metaphor. The metaphor becomes the expression, not the reality. Expression becomes opaque as a palm tree in a dark sandy desert. A room full of nouns. A squeak of mice, the noise nouns make. The room full of fears, the tears trying to run to the rain for silence from the noise nouns make. Once upon a day, the rebirth of take and give, the reason we forgot to see more to reason for the season, a season of reason we yearn and pine. Where there is noise, the noise nouns make. Noise and nouns, the nonsense, the sounds. We listen and search the heavens, the moon, the clouds penetrate the dark sky. I will ask why and what we listen to. Well, the noise that nouns make. Envoy. Nouns flow from my loins like flowers. A metaphor the king asks his men for more than heaven. This house of images belongs to someone else. Two more poems. Turn up your heart, the moon is full. 2, the morn of the moon is in morning. Another poem. I am like a boat snoring at the mooring. Poem Appassionata. Set this house on fire. My thrust sets the world on fire. I sometimes think I am at the top of high achievement and excruciating responses. High excitement and high achievement. Only Henry James. History is dark. Another poem. The icy trees in North Beach I cannot reach, for I'm just a small boy that is yet to be obeyed. Another poem at Starbucks. People peruse like Christmas shoppers after Christmas. A sign on the bus says, not in service. People march and walk quietly up and down 3rd Street in the year 2014, familiar and ordinary. No, the air has been clean of envy and metaphor and the certain love of loves. Another poem. My poems plod on the pages like a plow horse that pretends to be a dashing thoroughbred. On the eve of a reading, there are people over there, as I lose my mind to a pronoun. At the beach, the sun sets as though a child had drawn it, raised like a crayon glimmered to the sand. The waves squiggle and giggle, undulate underneath a passive surfer on top of days and daisies. The sun sings a song to the soft, wet sand. I am almost afraid to run to the water and get wet up to my ankles. Sonnet at Starbucks. The day presses onward. My lips concentrate on the blaring trombones and conga drums that remind me of far-off ecstasy and dances. Yes, the pulse of dancers that move and sway, that carry on with the day's tedium and romance. Goals and visions, the mad pulse that cannot cease if the sky stopped being blue and gray, if sirens stopped blaring and making noise, the noise to end all noises, the noise that penetrates all pleasure and silence. The streets are a serene jungle that jangles all, that jingles and jangles, that jangles the jungle. Away. Atop the world, the debris is a rubble of cinders and adjustments of it all. You are reborn 1,000 times. Ball and chain, the struggle with night and stubble to show for it all. Grub and make, double or nothing, that's the way it is. The gall, the nerve, you wind up meaning nothing. Stall around, that's the best you couldn't do. A bubble I try to burst and hope it will not pop and start, that's how it goes along. Merry men learn from their mistakes. They stop, then go. Routine faults lie at that. Nary a hair, that's what I wonder at, and I try by not trying to put my head in the sand. Okay, thank you very much.
Next we'll have Ann Leonard.
I've been reading from my history of San Francisco punk rock, and I left funny microphone. Yeah, that's good. That's great. Okay. So anyhow, it's a history of punk rock in San Francisco. I'm on the second chapter here. Thank you for listening. And this is the chapter called In the Fault Zone, the punk crunch on SF socio-political distortion. And this is all taking place between 1976 and 81. So, and let's see, I was on the part about the mutants. I'm wearing their t-shirt. So in celebration of this piece. We were at the city dump in June with the mutants. And there were about 11 of us, and it was a photo shoot. That's where I left off. Haphazardly rooting through the junk, we found hula hoops, pilots' headsets, softballs, baseball bats, toy guns, and baby dolls. Sue, mutant, posed ready for the day in a Juan Moreau print mini showing off her Indian corn. Aliens hard at alchemical play in the vortex of a banal culture's relics. We shook the old symbols free of their doldrums. In the new cathedral, they no longer owned us, we owned them. They shimmered under low clouds that turned the sky pewter, bathing us in our dreams in a luminous haze. Nighttime, party central, it was called the Mutants Loft, but it belonged to the girls, Sue and Sally, who were singers for the Mutants, and it was just up the stairs from the Fun Terminal, a cavernous pinball arcade located across the street from the Trans Bay Terminal, and above the neighborhood pharmacy, Terminal Drugs. They'd gotten the lease using a phony credit card provided by a friend of Sally's, who worked for a bank. Obviously leading a charmed life, she and Sue also had a landlord who frequently forgot to collect the rent. Sally worked survival jobs waitressing at Bim's, Coppola's Kearney Street joint, and making popcorn at the Strand and Egyptian theaters. Then she moved up to an administrative level job managing a phone sex line with her other roommates, Joanne and Vicki, hosting their dial-in clients. The neighborhood had atmosphere, with both terminals providing choice locale and ambiance for ongoing low-rent drug deals and homosexual transactions. Next door to the arcade was the Wagon Wheel Bar, where Merle Haggard was king of the jukebox. Catering to South of Market, standing out, the establishment sold mixed drinks at $1.25 a jug. A photo of Ken Kesey, Neil Cassidy, and Timothy Leary hung above Sally's bed. Short-term memory loss was rampant, and everybody asked her, "Who's that?" But Kesey's acid test parties and happenings were a huge influence on her art, and with his picture on the wall as an inspiration, the Mutants' First Street Loft became legendary for an ongoing series of bashes, starting with nights of terminal poetry and evolving into parties featuring live punk music. First Street was the launch site for never-before-heard bands like the Dead Kennedys and Tuxedo Moon, giving them their San Francisco punk scene entree. A few days after I got into town, I went from Seattle with the rest of the Jump Street crowd to Soon Sally's for my first terminal night. It started at the two annexes downstairs with some pinball and then a little C&W and beer next door. Back on the sidewalk, we found a manic Middle Eastern partier in chewed-up cowboy boots, dusty stovepipes, and a 60s suit coat swinging from the bottom of the fire escape. He'd just been 86 from the bash and was trying to crawl back in. Upstairs, the Sex Pistols were blasting on the stereo. I found a sledgehammer on the workbench in a corner of the main room and broke off a few chunks of a concrete brick to find out what it felt like. When Bruce Pollock came over to see what was going on with his tools, he was the king of massive slapstick and had recently built a gigantic wooden wheel you could sit in while you rolled yourself across the floor of the loft. The second story man showed up again later and waved a bag of coke at me. When I stupidly showed interest, he threw me into a huge walk-in closet full of the band's costumes and onto a pile of crinolines. I started to scream and the diminutive Sally Webster swung the door open, red-faced and ferocious, yelling, "Get the fuck out of here!" He ran from the closet into a couple of largest males who showed him the stairs one more time. After the party, Bruce took me to a pier on the Embarcadero, where he'd scattered a pile of newly cut wooden utility poles. I helped him drag one of them onto a makeshift fulcrum, and we made a 120-foot-long teeter-totter, jumping on opposite ends to shoot each other up and down. This is by the Tire Beach. Everybody knows the Tire Beach. We yelled and screamed, the inky water below reflecting the lights of Oakland and the Bay Bridge. Walking from North Beach into Chinatown to shop for socks, Ivy, Ruby, and I drew up to a huge poster pasted across the bank of China's windows. Above a photoreal picture of two fucking tabby cats read the command, "Pay attention." Underneath the epigram, "Slaves," had been painted. Yeah, we were thrilled and laughed about it for the rest of the morning as we dug for bargains through the tables at Chinese Five and Dime. Not long after, I met the outlaw who pulled the job at a party in an old factory near Potrero Hill. His name was Mark Pauline. With a day job as a ship welder, he burglarized industrial sites for scrap metal at night, carrying raw meat to sidetrack the guard dogs.
Great.
Okay, and now Harold Terrazon.
Good evening. Thank you for coming tonight. So I'm going to be reading a poem about a writer that I met, who actually I saw her read, and suddenly I had never met her before and felt like I should write her a poem. I want you at the mic in a sapphire blouse. I want you in blue jeans and silk verse. I want you in an epic metaphor so I can drive the tenor off you. I want your words loose and academics, so I have to delve into the complexity of your illusions. I want to be the moisture above your lips and on your fingertips, with all those motifs glistening from each one of your breaths. I want to be the meter of your line, molded, broken, fluttered, and jammed, spoken spontaneously, flawlessly at your moment speak. I want to fly, I want to groove, I want to head nod and be flown by every syllable that flows from your tongue or tongues. I want to believe, I want to groove to your avant-garde postmodernism, post-colonialism, malapropism, syntax and rhetoric, misappropriations and reformations of genders, roles, histories, and philology of multicultural tongues flowing from your lips. I want to want you like you're the only writer that spits fire into my soul. I want to dance. I want to interpret your every lyric on life and love, to show you how much I want nothing short of a metaphor of you. And when you're done, I'll run to the mic, trembling for your voice to catch your every syllable tonight and wear them like skin. So I have a friend who's a professor in Canada, and I think she writes some of the most unique Facebook statuses. So this is a found poem based on her statuses. And it's called, You Know You're a Mexican in Canada. You know you're a Mexican in Canada when it's 4:45 a.m. and I have been awake since 3:30, and after an hour of chasing a mouse around and losing track of the vile creatures somewhere in my bedroom, I have tried to remain silent, but I cannot any longer. Dear MLA Organizing Committee, dear Mr. Shopper's Checkout Boy, dear hipster sales boy desperate to make me try on high-waisted shiny black jeans for $100 and a crop black tee $200 so that you can look like Sandy in Greece. Dear hipsters of the world, dear student who wants to join an intensive writing English course in the third week of a 13-week semester, dear white man who burst into my classroom 1 minute after my class is over. Please stop trying to demonstrate to my class what assholery colonialism produces, or look at your watch, sighing loudly and glaring at me to get out, or make mom jean shorts happen. I lived through that era, and we wore men's 501s for a reason. I don't even know what to say to you. I don't understand your desire to make your lives miserable. But I teach Edric's the Roundhouse tomorrow, so I'm in the neighborhood pub surrounded by hockey to try to keep away the emotions as I read. Not working. Today in class, I may have been talking with a woman character named Bush, and I may or may not have been talking about her love interest, and I may or may not have said out loud that he has an affection for Bush. Dios mío. Then she blessed herself with the sign of the cross. That's right, Miss Border Guard, that's right, shut up. Your children will thank you. Signed, Professor Cranky Pants. P.S. Speech done, makeup done, nice professor outfit. Check. Thank you.
So it's my turn. Hi everybody again. And Amira Baraka died, and he was a friend of Diane DePrima's, and so in the Chronicle she wrote a little something about
Married to Diane DePrima.
well, Bill tells a little here, so I'll read it. The great poet Amiri Baraka died January 9th. While he was in the hospital, I spoke daily to his wife, Jane, and my dear friend. This is Diane writing. I wrote the poem below. The day after Amiri died, he and I became friends in the New York art scene of the 1950s. We were drawn to each other by our work as poets and activists. We fell in love and had a daughter, Dominique. We remained friends all the rest of our lives. There will be a memorial March 2nd, and goes on about that. Anyway, here's the poem she wrote for Amiri Baraka. Don't matter, was it your left foot went bad or your right? Don't matter your lungs or your heart. Don't matter if that mass on your liver was malignant, or what's been wrong so long with your kidneys. Don't matter drugs or herbs or acupuncture, or why you didn't go to those appointments. Don't matter how much you drank or if you drank. Don't matter you did or you didn't take drugs, meaning meds, or take drugs, meaning drugs. What matters now, what matters and what's going to matter 100, 1,000 years. What matters when we wrote what we thought is lost. And don't kid yourself, Ginsburg, it's all of it going to be lost. What matters every place you read, every line you wrote, every dog-eared book or pamphlet or somebody's shelf, every skinny, hopeful kid you grinned that grin at. While they say they thought they could write, they thought they could fight, they know for sure they could change the world. Every human dream you heard or inspired, after the book signing, after the reading, after one more unspeakable faculty dinner, after that god-awful flight and the drive to the school, what matters, the memory of the poem in thousands of minds, that quantum of energy passed all the way over to the other, to thousands of others. What matters, revolution. What matters, revolution. What matters, the poem, taking root in thousands of minds. I'll just read this one I wrote. After I read that, I wrote this, and sort of, follows. Life, a fireball created by others in the spirit of the Algonquin, lit by a match and tossed about in a circle from season to season, from solitude to companionship, from work to obligations, to routines, to work, looking for meaning as it burns closer and closer to going out, and yet good for a game at night as it sparkles, and fate tosses it into a poem for review by others who will create new ones in the bad joke that teases youth towards the end of the end times, with hope-filled aspirations and the assurance of California poppies. Fireball, how long can you burn? I throw you towards spring. And now it's time for our feature. We're really lucky to have this lady who's done a lot with poetry and taught it and done a lot of acting and in many different places throughout the country. Will you welcome Sibel Zucolo Siegel? Great.
Hello everybody, how are you? I'm Sibel Zucolo Siegel and I'm here with cellist Andres Vera over here. And my husband Tom Siegel, and I love poetry. It's amazing, beautiful poetry. And I want to thank Dan and Stephanie.
Are you ready now?
Whenever you're ready.
Here. I can go in the corner. I can go right behind.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me go right behind. It'll be nice.
That's a good spot.
Fish are ubiquitous in the Caribbean, especially when I snorkel at night like a sea creature, carving space with water, creating installation art with bubbles, shaping the light with my arms and legs, spinning like a luminous cascading pirouette, like this. A firefly of the big blue sea, a fairy of eternal deep blue and green expanse. I live deep in the sea. I let my hair grow long, wild. It becomes my clothing, my blanket, my bed. It covers my naked body, especially when I swim far and wide into the deep blue, luminous, sublime sky water. The fish here in Aquatica are my family and loved ones. They kiss my face with their soft, velvety fins. Sometimes they sting me. I've grown accustomed to breathing underwater. And I see a man in a tuxedo swimming to shore. Who's that man? As soon as I see him, it's a mirage of passion in my arms and legs. Magenta water spin from my round form. We meet. My body perks up to meet him like lacquered pyramids. I'm saving his life and ripping off his tuxedo. We breathe and swim differently down here. We swim with a compass and a map I lost long ago. We must find our own way to shore. We create our own truth. Fish so small yet vibrant and boldly reflected in the moonlight of day. Fish like schools of silvery minnows in perpetual forgiveness. I slide through them with my radiant roundness and color-fast heart. Your tropical munificence is spraying angel fish that once had life behind your stillness. On land is a mirage of dripping clocks on branches and barren landscapes where we roam the Wyeth earth like bison. Underwater there is beauty and grace. I am the female architecture of your deep sea day. There is an oasis I saw all throughout my life but couldn't name. You are the ocean in all its forms. Rough, smooth as glass, blue, aquamarine, mysterious. The ocean floor is where we meet, dine, and hold each other. I am the architectural body of your nautical exploration. You dive into me like a new ocean, my Jacques Cousteau. An innocent music box with a ballerina is there. I see your hair glide past me as your fins and chest gleam bubbles and rays of blue and green. Sea kelp burgeons around picture frames. Ah, such radiant echoes of Debussy's La Mer. In my sleeping and waking breaths, I envision a new frontier. Dive into this maritime structure, find the compass, find the woman deep within. Wild, twisting heartland, vines of deep and true intent, tropical tundra, your green plumage, labyrinthine flora, shapes of Escheresque proportions, like antique epigraphs that linger into night. You want to flirt with us. Orchids erupt and carve the space, charting a map of horticultural fascination. Green becomes a state of mind, a way of perceiving the world through your verdant windows. I rush to this fragile structure of velvet skin to solve the proof of magic beauty. You grew this equation for me to solve. Bed of tundral chanting in a terrestrial oasis. Night drips over the city as the orchids writhe in a struggle for meaning, as your arms hold me in a brave new embrace. Beneath the interconnectedness of this natural wonder is the marrow that draws me to you. The color of soft sand of the Caribbean, the womb of night that calms me to divine reverie. Utopian mirage that grasps me through centuries of joyful existence, skin and muscle that signify true human beauty. Your voice on the other end speaking intelligent life science, turning language around, redefining it, giving it new meaning. When I kiss you, it's with the whole of me, like a shadow covering the city. Your face is very far away, cerebral, as you sublimely take shelter inside me. My soul's union with nature is complete. There is sea light behind your tallness, and an ocean liner. The immensity of sky stretches above us like an eternal oasis. The shadow of a plane reflected on a music building. We walk like two long brass humans. This is our circular earth. A million candles burn within you. For tide, in the soft billowy dreamscape of your mouth I will live. In the morning sea light, you will join me. Let's dance around the fire of our youth, our souls, our bliss, you and me. In the sand of your smooth body, waves and valleys, I see your glowing orbs in the ocean bedazzle like two fantasy planets. Your face lingers past me in an effervescent haze of blue ocean calling. There is no innocence in your face. All of a sudden there is a boy in your smile. There is Paris in your walk. There is a golden gate under your feet. The waves are salty and undulate in your hair. The waves are tumultuous foam curving around your hips. Here's my Chambre. Ocean promises renewal. There goes my baby in the glint of memory. Can I be the ocean you always go to? Your Atlantic, Pacific, and Mediterranean? You put your feet in, you roll up your pants, you carry the cold white water, and you say yes. Swim in desire, drink the continent with me. At work, I miss you. Where are you? The streets of my life here in the stockroom, this Philistine metropolis of capitalism, are like January every day without you. This is winter's blueprint. It's a cold, dry, empty space, in the darkness of barren insolvency. I wish we could run and laugh and swim and make love, and I wish we could go swimming in the ocean. I made money. My heart skipped a beat without you. We must remember that we are only human. As Strindberg said to Miss Julie, je ne suis qu'un homme. I am only human. With great aspirations and an enormous heart. For you, for us. A mosaic of desire. There are those people that you meet in your lifetime that are divine, live on after their lifespan. There are many seasons of summer in your life. My poet, I fly around the page and sink into your words. Walk the mile between comprehension and madness. These words are like rafts, life vests that glow orange and blaze. Let's never press undo. Never press undo. Don't let those words float out to sea. Toss them overboard like ashes that once had life. They live on your page, forever breathing and waiting for the reader. In California, I found lost youth. In San Francisco, I found newfound strength. Now I'm returning to the site of my awakening. Smoky, hazy, rosy remembrance. A letting go of familial residue. Fresh, leafy trees grow, planting new roots in fertile soil. A freeing of the human condition. I left my keys there. Seeds blooming under the moon, like morning glories that receive moonlight as food. You dwell among the untrodden ways like a coy gentleman to her lover. Your deep pools of mahogany are filled with wondrous, limitless life. A sacred spring bursts forth to fertilize the earth like Persephone, bringing Persephone back to the lush green earth. He was not one for a particular age, but for all time. The vicissitudes of love that's what life's all about. Give me liberty, or give me love. Go, stop, go. Streetlights flash red, green, yellow. Big open spaces. Soft murmur of the bourgeois banter. We rise above it. You're dreamlike again, caring. Pink drink, blue sky, fools for love. Swim in desire. Feet up, fed up. 1950s diner, 1960s new wave decor. Spoons and forks, circa 1987. No more trying, just living and dying. Your voice is a skyscraper, an echo, a bird, a flute, a ray of gold and darkness, a canvas to throw painted dreams on. Menus so thick and leathery tell a story. Clarity of wine and fatigue. My ink is on you now. Your ink is so smooth and clear. We heard noise all around us, but shut out the world in waiting. Blue sky, streaks of desire bleeding past me. Now I have just a few things about dance I'm going to read. I have a little tutu I'm going to put on.
Yeah.
Let's see. To set the mood. Yes. Okay, Todd, do you want to read your poem?
Yes.
Oh, we have a collaborative poem that Todd and I wrote together, and then I have a couple things about dance. Okay.
Here I go.
And then, yeah, then I'll just do a little dance, and then a few dance poems, and then I have a tribute to my mother, and that's it. Okay.
Uncertainty allows the present to be free. Let's create reality, be poetry, make it new, hyper-textual. Ready, set, make sure your charm is on vibrate, arriving in the flow of a sexy satyr. Ambiguity is the only way. Pure ambiguity, whatever, forever a wet painting, race you here, riding on the twilight of golden light. Mind your body, liquefy my faith into droplets of ecstasy, of neurotica. Leave no eyebrow unraised. Don't pull hunches and be a romantic realist. Arms reaching out of your charms, flush with characters, musingly bleeding your merry-go-round of hues, reversing any pout of blues. Fate is mooning us, getting dressed in primordial instincts, breathing deeply into iambic instincts of music, orchestral vapor garden of happy madness, tattooing the fate of Pollock's dripping paint on us, magnetic nomads nestled in dance, in poetry, verging and emerging, winding around the liquefaction of your smile. Basing this dance, crashing into renewal, haunting echoes of shock, a mellifluous harmony, creating me, granting me a lift ticket of heart-breathing sheets of human vulnerability, holding me like a corset, making relics of interdiscourse, firmly rooted fast and free into this beginning.
Thank you.
Do you want to dance? I used to be a dancer. The dance used to be me. It took me everywhere, but I never felt anything. I thought about scenes from my life outside the ballet class. I could hear the Who's Teenage Wasteland. Except when I was on stage dancing in the Nutcracker Suite at Lincoln Center. I was a unique force, carving the space. But why? In college, Laurie Anderson echoed the words, "Hello, this is your mother. Are you coming home? Is anybody home in that body of yours? You don't know me, but I know you. There's something far away and remote going on in that body. Here come the plains of war, or peacetime, at last deep inside. You can come as you are as a dancer, and pay as you go." And I said, "Okay, who is this really?" All of a sudden you watched me dance. I saw you in the rhythm of the music. You saw me carving the space, charting a map, finding a new way to move. I dream of those cold Decembers before the Nutcracker Suite, being fitted for Capezio shoes. Smell of new pink leather and creamy red rouge to make me a toy soldier. How Lincoln Center lit up at night, and the dancing, loving waters of the night fountain spoke to me. What happened to my winter dreams of Tchaikovsky singing to me? Snowflakes cooling the yearning face of a young dancer. Dancers have the gift of an eternal life spring, flowing through their body, quenching their deepest desires and hydrating their realities into a dream. This inner source waters down our suffering. The human condition is shown with our arms and legs, hands and feet, Dances and footsteps are the hieroglyphics of the soul. They are antique epigraphs. A timeless ritual occurs when the curtain rises to reveal the endless fascination and seduction of the many dances. We danced in a theater, on a stage, to form a human panorama, a terrestrial document, the earth establishing its place in the universe. Like a flower to the sun, we grow just watching the dancers of the ballet. Dancers carve space with their bodies. They attack it. They make love to it. They dance around it. They reveal personal truths on stage with their bodies instead of their voices. In the ballet class, there was tyranny within. Self-esteem was woven into their feet. It was a way to classify each other. The teacher tells a much-needed joke. They laugh like they haven't laughed in years. Picture all your dreams coming true. Picture the most love and beauty and profound excitement you could ever ask for. All in one place, all yours for the taking. That's how it was. In Swan Lake, I was the dying swan. I miss that ballerina and the stage lights. Smile on tarnished cement. The dying swan, turning so lovely. Before the deluge, before the winter blast, the dance of the snowflakes. Tchaikovsky lulls me to sleep, tells me that everything is going to be okay. His music was transcendent and luminous.